Welcome back to the Sailor Moon Another Story playthrough. We're wrapping up the Sailor Venus chapter, thank God. That means we're done with single party member stuff in this game that was built around having a 5-party member party. um, it's like half the game's mechanics don't even apply to this entire chunk of the game. It's kind of funny. Yeah, I was like, this is the only time you get to talk to these two. It's like they're the only two NPCs with anything interesting going on, and you don't even get to see any of it. It's kind of funny. But
teleportation,
Hey.
yeah.
Yep. Anyway, there are no random battles past this point. It's literally just a boss fight to wrap up the chapter. It's another oddly structured area because, like, you have just the enemies that are on the mountain path, and they don't give you much experience. But then you have the enemies inside the keep who do give you experience, but the encounter rate is absurdly low, even without Grind Be Gone. And the enemies themselves will kill you very easily. So I'm not really sure the developers of this game knew what they were doing when it came to structuring and designing an RPG.
Yay!
This tune sounds familiar to me. I'm trying to place it, but I don't know. Maybe I heard it in the anime at some point. I don't know.
This one feels very Final Fantasy for Super Nintendo.
Nah, I don't think the instrumentation quite lives up to that.
Well, now the instrumentation changed, but I'm talking more like the trumpety part.
No, I mean, like,
Waves of nostalgia.
I don't think the instrumentation of this entire piece sounds like the kind of instrumentation they use in Final Fantasy. Like, it's like a bar or two below. It's like comparing the Relay Genesis twangy stuff to Sonic music, you know? Except without the twang. So the only thing to do here is to just walk down to the bottom of the ship, have a nostalgic moment, and then walk back up. I do like the amount of expressiveness going on in the Sailor Scouts' different animations, though. Like, a lot of the NPCs just have, like, their one mode of animation, and that's it. But the main characters all have quite a bit of expressiveness in their animations. More than I would expect from other RPGs of the time, to be honest. Like, yeah, most RPGs of this time period have this really chibi style, but and Sailor Moon moved slightly away from that, but that's not even the big thing, because even the other games that do that, like Phantasy Star 4, they put most of their expressiveness into, like, stuff like comic book cutaways and stuff, rather than into the sprites that you actually see in the world. Whereas this one tries to put in a lot of drama in the emotes that the sprites have as they interact with each other. It doesn't go far beyond what I would expect from, say, Final Fantasy VI, but it does go a bit further. Time to one-shot another boss. Yahoo!
Yay! Sword to the face.
They all get home to Japan, and Sailor Mercury's like, guys, you should have seen it. I had this epic 2-stage showdown with my rival from another dimension. And the others are like, they all look at each other and are like, I killed mine in one hit. Yeah, so did I. Yeah, me too. And Mercury's just like,
Fuck you guys.
Shut up, Johnny Young Bosch. Go brood somewhere else.
This is I do like the banter between Artemis and Venus. It kind of, like, it's just fun interactions between the former protagonist and their sidekick character. The kind of thing that I would expect to be common in the Sailor V story. I still need to read that, though. Like, I have the entire 10-volume set of the Eternal Editions for Sailor Moon, but I haven't picked up the 2 Sailor V volumes yet. I like how we're seeing Nabu's flashback just from the outside, and it's like she's talking to herself. And Ishtar
but
is
why'd
like,
you leave? Your planet
my
left.
God,
Your
that's
planet
awesome.
needs you.
Ishtar is like, are you talking to yourself? Do you have a new imaginary friend or what? Nabu's just casually ignoring her. And Apsu is like, I suppose you may accompany us as well. It's just like,
You know what they say: the more, the merrier.
So sassy.
okay, so like, here's the thing: when even Minaku knows you're being too frivolous, you're being too frivolous. There's just no middle ground there. Unfortunately, we don't get to actually use the super special flying airship.
Yeah, guys, I came back on the super awesome spaceship that lets me like travel around the world in seconds. Like, oh, cool, that's we can really use that. No, I just left it back in Turkey. What?
Yeah, it turns out at some point between when I died and when I reincarnated 1,000 years later, I lost the ignition key. Imagine that.
Also, there's not a gas station that services, 1,000-year-old spaceships, so...
It's interesting that they introduced this arc, though, because, like, it seems like the kind of thing that you would use as an airship.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not actually, like, I haven't played far enough into the game as of yet to know whether or not it comes back. But considering how short I know this game is, it just seems like an odd inclusion, you know? It also reminds me of the airship from Final Fantasy Legend 3, which just sort of sits in one place for half the game.
I was not expecting Artemis to just casually float back down. By the way, do you want to say it?
Sure, I guess.
Now we get to play as
Chibi Moon.
Sailor Chibi Moon. Okay, here's the thing about Chibi Moon. I like her as a character. I do. She's fun. She has a cool backstory. She's part of the interesting future time travel lore shit, which actually is pretty interesting. But, like, at this point in the story, she's just barely become a Sailor Scout, and she's only remained in the present so that she can train as one. Because future Usagi decided that staying in the past and training with past Usagi was a good way to get her shit together. So she literally travels back to the future at the end of the second arc and then reappears again, like, seconds later. Like, I'm back. I'm here to train with you guys. Because that's how time travel works. But, like, she's still a Sailor Scout in training with barely no powers, and that means she's the worst party member by design. She has one attack, and it sucks. She's only ever any good in combat using link attacks. And right now, she's your only party member.
Oh boy.
Oh boy, this is gonna go great.
Fortunately, they don't force you to do too many fights with her, and there are no random battles in this section, so... This is more of a story sequence, but she starts at level 1, because we haven't had a chance to play with her yet. This is one of those games. The others at least had a few battles on the train before they started their section. And then they went through their own section, so that they could level up individually before rejoining as a party. But Chibi Moon doesn't get very many battles to herself before she rejoins Sailor Moon. So she's lagging behind substantially when she joins the rest of the party. And she doesn't rejoin the party until Sailor Moon links up with Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. So she's, like, by far the lowest member of a high-level party, so it feels like she does nothing. But of course, this is a magical girl anime, so we need a bad guy who's in love with a good guy. Enter this kid. Anshar. Yeah, that's his name. and not Usagi. Wow, is that the Star Trek symbol on your tiara?
Oh my god.
I just noticed
Oh my
that.
god. You're right.
Or Aquaman's egg.
So, like, Anshar, I don't really know why yet, but he really likes Chibiusa. Presumably, like, presumably they know each other in the future or some shit. But if they do, then it's, like, Chibiusa's relative future rather than, you know... Or maybe it's some wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff. I don't know. The point is... he basically betrays the bad guys immediately upon introduction into the story. There's no build up to this. It just happens the moment he starts being an active force in things. But this location is significant in its own way because this is Mugen Academy. This is the focal point of the main threat from Arc 3. Mugen Academy is interesting. Like, it's supposed to be this school for the especially gifted. And, like, we don't get to see it here because 16-bit RPG, but Mugen Academy is actually this big-ass, like, set of towers in the middle of the city. So, it's a visually striking setting. And it gets fucking destroyed at the end of Arc 3. So it being back and whole again is a bit of a problem. Which is why we're investigating it now. Now, for some baffling reason, Chibiusa decided to bring her non-magical best friend along on this adventure. Because that's not going to end badly at all.
Of course not.
It's pretty scary in here.
This is like...
Oh.
Oh no.
Oh.
Hey, that's my experience, pal.
Kill Stealer.
Could have gotten 2 whole levels from that.
Probably more, considering I'm level 1.
Yeah.
I mean... This is kind of like Mother 1 or Final Fantasy 4, where someone joins your party at level 1 and you're level 15. So your strong party members one-shot the enemy, and then your weak party member jumps up 5 levels because they gained experience points for a battle they did not participate in.
They were just there for moral support.
Yep. They defended for a turn, that counts. So, this is the first example of how this game handles unconscious people being accompanied by the party. Basically, the unconscious person stands there with their eyes closed and then gets dragged into the other party member's sprite and disappears. Like, they don't generally animate the...
Lady.
They don't generally animate the sprite on the ground unless it's a character who deserves to have extra frames of animation, like Anshar.
It's not like we have superpowers that can easily jump over a measly gate.
Hey, the last time I saw someone infiltrate at Mugen Academy, it was Sailor Mercury, and that excursion ended with her jumping out of a window into a pool, and then jumping out of that pool to use the water as a weapon. So, yeah, you kind of have a point there. That was one of the most badass scenes in the entire 3rd season of Crystal, which had a lot of badass scenes in it. Wow, there are a lot of identical school buildings in this game. But you know, I missed the Mugen Academy sign when I was recording this at first, and I didn't know what location we were actually at. So when I walked into the classroom full of computers, my mind didn't shoot to Mugen Academy, even though it probably should have. What my first thought was hey, is this a school where Sailor Mercury was introduced?
Yeah. I could see that.
I thought that was where they were, but I probably should have known better. When Chibiusa looked through this door the first time, she was like, "There's some kind of weird computer in there. I don't want to go inside
Looks like
that
Master
room."
Chief's helmet.
But then, like, that's not a computer. What is that?
I mean, it's some kind of computer thing. 1, 2, 3, 4.
This seems like a bad thing to have in the main school building of your school building.
0, 0, 0, 1. 0, 0, 0, 2.
It's like, you know, the thing is, there's a separate building for all the evil mad science lab stuff. Put this room in that building instead, you know? Makes more sense. But yeah, I'm still level 1, so I get to punch and kick because my one special attack needs more action points than I have. How many levels did I go up? A lot, because I gained the full bar of 12 action points in one fight. So yeah, how many levels did I go up?
Probably 4 or 5.
Pay attention whenever I next open the menu, because like, oh boy. At that point, why did you even start me out at level 1? Come on. He keeps calling her Lady because that's what he knows her as in the future, I guess. Chibiusa's nickname in the future is Small Lady because, like, she's tiny. She's not actually a kid. She's, like, 100 years old or something because everyone in the 30th century is immortal. But, like, she never grew up for some reason, and it's a source of considerable insecurity for her.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Time to go home. Let's just get in the car. 10 levels!
Wow.
I jumped up from level 1 to level 10 in one fight.
First fight.
Nice.
Of course, Chibiusa is still kind of a terrible party member, but, you know.
Makes future stuff better, so. Just plop her in the bed.
Poof, she just appears there. Under the covers and everything. It amuses me how RPGs handle bed graphics because, like, ever since the sprite-based days, lying in a bed is just like slipping the sprite under 2 layers of other sprite, and you don't even have to change the sprite. You just sort of cover everything beneath their chin. This is a method that persisted all the way up into the PS2 days, where even Persona 3 in full 3D was doing this. Like they didn't want to make a separate model for Minato in pajamas or something, so they just had him lay in bed and covered him up enough so that you couldn't see that he was still in his school uniform. It wasn't until Persona 4 that they gave the protagonist pajamas and acknowledged that, you know, they might want to have sleepwear for when they're at night, but that was only because they had to do scenes with the Midnight Channel, and it wouldn't have made sense for them to still be wearing their uniform during those scenes. Okay, so, like, he's just like,
oh no, a normal human.
Yeah.
Utterly not on board with whatever not Usagi is doing, but basically, Momo's being mind controlled. Yeah, you probably moved to protect her from the wrong threat. So, Anshar is basically magic, and the first thing he did was he sent Momo back to her home. How he knew where her home was, or how his magic works to know where it is for him, I don't know. It's never expanded on. All we know is that him and Chibiusa ended up in a forest by Mount Fuji. The reason for this is that because the rose crystal they're looking for to cure Tuxedo Mask is here, and her magic, her silver crystal, just led them here because he sure didn't pick a destination. But it's time to take a break from Chibiusa's little misadventure because
Thank goodness. Worst
we
character.
need to, yes, we need to get back to what Usagi's been doing this entire time. Our segue into this is Chibiusa calling out to Sailor Moon for help, Sailor Moon hearing her over great distances, and then finding out that Hotaru went missing from the hospital and going after her instead.
What a caring mom, Usagi.
Yeah, screw your future daughter.
Also, Luna, if you're here, why don't you do something?
Write a diary entry about Chibiusa's adventure. I don't know. I'd kind of like to forget it.
Oh my God.
Ouch.